Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Tensengu. I'm going to be starting a new series of random videos sharing my insight that I think can actually help people, can take away a few things. So today I'm going to talk about how to do well on a software engineering technical interview. I've actually interviewed with a couple tech companies, including Google and Bloomberg. And with Google, I made it all the way to the on-site with 6 different engineers. So I definitely know the ins and outs. I will share what it takes to do well in that interview. One thing you need to understand about these interviews is that they're a very standardized way of interviewing. It's basically like a SAT essentially when you go in there. There's pretty much a curriculum. It's set. There's no real surprises. You know, if you study all the different topics and you can master them, you should be fine. So I'll get into that, the curriculum. And I'll also talk about how to even get the interview and also just general tips you can do regardless of the curriculum that can give you the edge. I actually was contacted on LinkedIn, believe it or not. I never applied to these companies. It was always recruiters reaching out to me. And I think what made my profile on LinkedIn attractive, if I were to guess, is because I put a lot of detail in my experiences, particularly in college. Actually, college, I put a lot of the extracurriculars I did. For example, I was part of, a lot of people remember me from CARP, but I also was involved with the local ACM chapter there, which is like the computer science organization. It's national, and Binghamton had a chapter, so I was actually part of that. And I also participated in some programming contests. So those kind of things I mentioned on my LinkedIn. Also, of course, my volunteering experience, I mentioned that as well. You just have to kind of sell yourself. This generation, that's kind of what we do, right? We just basically boast about our accomplishments. So definitely get yourself out there so that recruiters can find you. When you're asked to solve a problem on a whiteboard, or it could be a programming exercise over the internet and they're watching you code, definitely they want you to hear your thought process. So definitely get comfortable with talking out loud while you're solving the problem, especially with the major tech companies like Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon. They all want to hear your thought process. It's better to talk things through than just be silent, because they want to know how you think. And they want to see if you're an effective communicator, because that's really important when working at a company, is working as a team. Another tip is sometimes when you're presented with a problem, try plugging in examples, sample input, and solve for that. You know, some very simple base case, and then try another example, a little more complex, plug that in, and then that will give you some insight on how to solve it. Another strategy also is try to solve a simpler problem, kind of reduce the complexity. It might give you insight on how to solve it for real. One other strategy, and this requires knowing data structures, which is part of the curriculum. I'll cover that later. This strategy is basically try to throw all these different data structures at it and see which one fits. If right away a brute force solution comes to mind and you really can't think of anything else, that's fine. Just go ahead and solve it that way. And while you do that, probably will get insight on how to solve it more efficiently. Solving a brute force right away is better than just being silent for 10-15 minutes and not having anything there and just being stuck. That's the worst case. And lastly, general tip, ask a lot of questions. One mistake people do is they think they know what the interviewer asked them. They assume a lot of things, and oftentimes those assumptions are wrong and they end up solving the completely wrong problem. And that can also be a big red flag and cause you not to get the job. Because you may solve a problem perfectly, but the problem is that wasn't the problem they asked you. Okay, so that also kind of demonstrates listening skills, listening comprehension, being able to gather requirements. You know, that's a big skill to have in software engineering.